Card King, here I come. Hello, sports fans, sports collectors, and all hobbyists. Welcome to the Card King Sports and Variety Show. I am your host, the Catman, Brian Cataquet, a.k.a. the Card King. We are live on ABC's KMET 1490 AM.com, your number one spot right here for news and talk on the West Coast. I thank everyone for tuning in this morning. On the program, I welcome in a legendary Philadelphia Flyers NHL left winger. He was a five-time All-Star in his 15-season career. I welcome to the program the great Brian Propp. Brian, great to have you.
Hey, good morning. How is everybody doing?
Oh, very well, and always an honor to speak with a professional athlete. And, Brian, I was just looking at this before the program. Bleacher Report has you ranked number 2 greatest scorers in Flyers all-time history, and really that's all one needs to know about your dominating playing career on the ice. Now, for many athletes, this better than Brian, is considered to be a number one ingredient, and I guess you had that ingredient early on as a kid.
Yeah, like when I grew up in Saskatchewan, Canada, my dad was a Lutheran minister, and I had two brothers and sisters who were all 13 months apart. Grew up in a little town of 300 people in Saskatchewan, and so like what else are you going to do except for to play hockey and do that? And so my dad taught me to skate every day, and well when I could, in the summer, of course I didn't, but and then just work on my shooting and skating and everything like that. And so he taught me that. And then when at 15, I played for the Melville Millionaires, and I broke all the records at that time.
Amazing. Now I'm hearing from a lot of former NHL players that I get in contact with across my circle. What's your opinion on this generation of players? You feel that this generation of players are soft, not as tough as the generational players in which you came up during your era?
Well, it's really changed a lot. Like in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, it was more physical, and like you got held up. We didn't make much money, and so it changed the 90s, and then like the last 15 years, the rules have changed. So like you can't really hit anybody as much, and it's more fast, and they make more money, and they can play for like 25 years now, just getting points and things like that. So but when it comes to the playoffs, the better players are more physical, and that's where it really counts. And you just, as long as you're in the playoffs, you have a chance to win, because you get a hot goalie, and then a lot of things will can change.
And Brian, your opinion, do you think the sport is still as popular as it once was? Because it was so popular, in the 60s, 70s, even the 80s, when you came aboard, and Wayne Gretzky, you guys broke in that same year, right? You guys broke in
Yeah.
together. Do you think the popularity of hockey is still, is still popular these days?
Well, I know ever since the Russians got drafted in 1990. Like I played in the '87 Canada Cup with Gretzky and Lemieux on the same line, and we won that gold, a three-year series, which is one of the best series all time. It was sort of like the Olympics, better players and faster skaters, and you picked the teams, but. After the Russians were able to get drafted in 1990, Igor Larionov kind of set that up, and then like it's changed after that. The 90s and the 25 years from here, it just made a big difference, because all the countries all over the world are getting drafted, and now it's you go to college, and you have a chance to go to college, and then get drafted after that. And so it's there's more players in the US and other all through the world. Instead, like in the 70s and 80s, it was mostly Canadian US players.
And we're talking with the legendary hockey player Brian Propp, who's with us. 1979, Brian, a pivotal year for you. You were 20 years old, picked 14th by the Philadelphia Flyers of the 1979 NHL entry draft. Your recollection of that time, where were you? What were you doing when the news broke that you were going to be drafted?
So I was working on the farm because didn't make much money, and at that time, you didn't get flown into the draft, and so I got a call from the Keith Allen to saying that I got picked by the Philadelphia Flyers, and I was working on the farm, and so now it's so different, and it's a big production, but at that time, I was just happy to get drafted by the Flyers, and even though I was expected to be a higher draft, because that year the NHL merged. There was a World Hockey Association the year before, and that merged, and so gave no bargaining. So you took what you got. My first 3 years, I made 50, 55, and 60,000, and so I lived on $1,000 a month budget, and so and that was when it was the 18-year-old draft. That's why Bork and Laurie Boschman were drafted ahead of me, and Brad McCrimmon and Ray Allison. And so, but you did what you had. I was really quiet and naive. I didn't really know what was going on, and so I just kind of followed Bob Clark's example by working hard and just staying quiet and playing a good game.
Yeah, and I wanted to ask you about Bobby Clark. I mean, Hall of Famer, your teammate, who broke in about 1970, 10 years earlier than you. So I guess he treated you well. He took you in, Bobby Clark.
Yeah, well, at that time, it was more a Bob Kelly, he was a left winger that he's been there for a couple of years, and so he really helped me because he took me to his house, and then at that time there was only two single guys, Frank Bays and myself, and I rented out a house with the realtor that was there. Ed was his dad died and his mom was alone, and so I just rented a house my first year, and then the second year I just rented a house with Mel Bridgman, and so just hanging out with Frank Bays and Mel Bridgman, it made a big difference for me at my first couple of years. And the first year was really good because we had the 35 undefeated streak, and we went to the finals against the Islanders, and then after that, the changed the divisions, and so it made it more tougher to finally get into the playoffs.
You read my mind. So the Islanders, was that your first NHL debut? Was it against the Islanders?
Yeah, my first game was against Bill Smith and the Islanders in Philadelphia. And so I remember because I played with Reggie Leach and Bobby Clark and on a line, and I had an assist and a goal my first game, and so I got the game winner, and then we lost 9-2, and then from there I was like, whoa, is this what it's going to be like? Because in Brandon, the Brandon Wheat Kings for 3 years, we hardly ever lost a game because we were so powerful and more scoring and defensive. So, and then after that, we went 35 without a loss, which was probably never be broken. But that was good for me because playing with good teams and just getting into the playoffs almost every year made a difference, especially because you learn how to play better when it comes to the playoffs. And of course, having Bob Clark and Bob Kelly and helping, just talking with me, just made a big difference.
Yeah, I mentioned the Islanders because I'm originally from New York City, so I was an Islander fan growing up, but they could not stop Brian Propp. They couldn't stop you. I mean, you performed very well against the Islanders.
Yeah,
Didn't you
but
score a five point? Didn't you
they had
score
good
five
teams
points?
too. Yeah.
Yeah, they did. They did. But wasn't there a game against the Islanders when I think it was five, you scored a 5 point game against them?
I think so. Well, I don't remember. It doesn't matter when you're retired. You just kind of move on and do other things. I know because after my stroke 10 years ago, I should have died, but I just came back. I couldn't talk or walk at all. So I've come a long way from 10 years ago. And last a couple of weeks ago, I was in New York where the Islanders practice near there, and I played. I saw Brian Trottier, Bill Smith, Ken Morrow, Nystrom, and a couple other guys. And so you become an alumni, and you kind of know where everybody's going, and you help each other with just the appearances that I have.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Brian, again, when you broke into the league in '79, I mean, if I'm just reading your career, it seems like you were very comfortable. I mean, I'm looking at a trading card which reads Propp sets club record for goals, assists, and points by a rookie in '79, and you had a very solid season. When you first broke in, I mean, did you find the competition very challenging?
Yeah, well, at that time, like it was, like because we had good players, especially when we played for the Brandon Wheat Kings for 3 years because Dunk McCollum prepared us for the NHL. And so, like, I know that year we had Brad McCrimmon, Ray Allison, like, we all got drafted. There was 10 guys from Brandon that got drafted that year. And so they had long careers. But for me, it was just because I was such a good player in junior and like, because I know in 1999, I was elected all-time history best left winger in the leagues, 1999, 99. And so that was very important for me. And, I'm probably the only guy that's not in the Hall of Fame yet, but hopefully it'll get there soon.
Oh, you definitely deserve it, no question about it. And we're doing snapshots. I have a few minutes left with you, but late. I was reading also later in your career. Bobby Clark at the time was the general manager of the Flyers. Tell me if I'm correct. And he was responsible for your trade to the Boston Bruins. Am I correct with that?
Yeah, that was after 11 years with the Flyers. Like I know there's a lot of changes going on, and that year, like I had an injury in my hand, had a hole in my artery in my left hand, and so I missed 27 games. And then at that time, Ed Snyder was going to try to get Jay, his son, to run the team and kind of take out most of the higher players. And so they get, but I knew that he was going to, I was a free agent at the end, and so he did me a favor by trading me to Boston, which was Boston was number one in the year that year, and then Dave Poulin got traded in January of that year, and then after my injury, I played a couple games, and then was able to get traded to Boston, and then at that time after that he got fired, and then he took me to Minnesota after that because I'd love to play in Boston after that, but Harry didn't offer me much offer. So Bob Clark took me to Minnesota with Bob Smith and the Minnesota North Stars, and so we did good. Went to the finals the year after that.
Yeah, that's another thing I wanted to ask you. You played one season with the Bruins. Did you notice? I know you were there just one season. Did you notice a big difference between the Philly fans versus the Boston fans?
I was only there for a month, but it's like Philadelphia and Boston. Like they're great fans and good people to play for and good teams, and you always have a chance to win a Stanley Cup. And so it was really important for me just to get traded at that time because I like only had a month left of the year, and then the playoffs, and then I went to Minnesota for 3 years, and then Hartford after that. But it was the same. Boston and Philadelphia are passionate fans.
Now, when you first came up with the Flyers, your coach was Pat Quinn, right?
Yes, of
Now,
course.
Pat Quinn, and then you played for Bob McCammon, and then Mike Keenan. Those were your three coaches. What can you say were the difference between those three coaches or managers?
Well, Pat Quinn was such a good coach. He's X and O's, and he talked to people, and he got people ready to play. And then of course Bob McCammon, like he was with Maine before that, and he was kind of a little, different. And then, of course, Mike Keenan, I was there for 4 years, and then we had good teams in there. We went to the finals in 84 and 87, and Paul Holmgren after that was my coach. And then when I got traded to Boston, but I really liked Pat Quinn and Mike Keenan because like they wanted to win every game and they had different styles, but they respected the people that you played for.
And what's worth noting here, Brian? You played for about 9, 10 seasons. You make the Stanley Cup half of those years you played. What do you think was the missing chemistry? Why didn't the teams you play go over that hump?
Well, it was so tough. Like in the 80s, Edmonton, like the Islanders, and there were four in a row, and then Edmonton had 4 or 5 days, and then Calgary won in one year. And other than that, it was really tough because the guys, the best players, like they didn't make that much money, but they had good teams, and so now there's 32 teams, and it's a little bit more even, and like you only you have a tough time to get into the playoffs. But in the 80s, it was really tough. In the playoffs, especially with the Islanders and the Oilers, and they were so powerful. But we did our best to try to win, and then of course in '90 with Boston against Edmonton, we lost in triple overtime the first game. That hurt us. And then, of course, we were we were in Minnesota where we were supposed to lose the first round, but we went into the finals against Pittsburgh, and Lemieux kind of took over the last couple of games. But it's so tough to you're playing against some of the best players and teams all time, and just if one bounce here and there could have made a difference in a series.
Yeah, and it was Stanley Cup Finals. You appeared 5 times: 1980, 85, 87 with the Flyers, Bruins 1990, and then the North Stars 91. You're a 5-time All-Star. Your first appearance at the All-Star game. How exciting was that for you?
Well, that was the year because that we had the 35 undefeated streak. We had like 6 or 7 guys in the All-Star game at that time, and that was it ended up being like Gordie Howe's last year, and they just built the new rink, the Joe Rulis rink. So I played in the old rink, and then we played in the All-Star game in February, where Gordie Howe was there, and he was one of the final year. So that was really amazing for me to be there, like because I think I had a goal and an assist in the playoff in the All Star game with I played with Phil Esposito and Reggie Leach on the line, and so it was just kind of exciting, especially with that many guys. Now with all the teams that you have, 32 teams, it's tough to get more guys in the lineup, and because it's a couple of the other teams just they pick the best you want, and so, but it just yeah, it's so different.
And this is great that I have you here, Brian, because as everyone knows, you're one of the most prolific scorers of all time. This is just a technique question. Your techniques and mechanics for scoring with the stick, is that an effort that came naturally to you or gradually? Did you have to work on that, off season? How do you become such a prolific scorer?
I think, well, my dad taught me how to skate and shoot. And the way I did it is like, I practiced in a little rink and skated for hours, and I took pucks, and then I shot for the corners. I never wanted to miss the net because, I picked the corners, and top shelf, left and right, and in the middle, and look for the rebounds. And so you kind of know where to shoot, and then just you figure it out. But I had a quick wrist shot, and so I used that a little bit more, and then you stand in front of the net, and then deflections. And of course, with Tim Kerr being in there in the '80s, it was tougher to he beat me to a lot of pucks, but it was still good to be a line mate of him. And yeah, so it was all about shooting, accuracy, and never missing the net, and shooting for rebounds.
Now, I know a lot of players have superstitions when they play. Did you have any superstitions when you played?
No, not too many because like I was just a regular guy, and I just didn't think about it. I just kind of prepared myself the best I could. In the '80s we had, of course, Pat Croce. He was our physical fitness guy that because we started working out in '81, and that made a big difference. So it probably gave me 5 more years to play, and then we had Steve Rosenberg was a sport coach, and so he helped me with thinking and relaxing and kind of getting ready for the playoffs and shooting and even for golf and things like that. It made a big difference in the '80s.
Now I'm into the uniform, the jersey numbers. I know you wore number 26 for the Flyers all those years, and then you played that month with the Bruins. You wore number 36. Was there anything significant about number 26 for you?
Well, it would. I wanted to get number 16, but how could I do that from the Flyers? Because I was 16 in Brandon Wheat Kings, and so. But I guess I kind of just went to 26, and then for Boston, like they had Wesley was number 26, and so I went to 36, and then in Minnesota I went 16,
Yeah,
and
you were 16, correct. You were
and then
16.
of course Hartford, because they're so cheap, they use the same jerseys from the year before. So and then like I had to wait a half a year before I got 26. I wore 15 the first half of the year, and then I changed to 26 because they didn't have make new jerseys, and so. But that was yeah. I just like the number six in there.
All right, so I know you're doing appearances. So what's your next appearance? And I know you mentioned you have a book out. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so my book just came out last November. It's called Angel on My Wing. It's a bit about my faith because my dad was a Lutheran minister, a little bit of hockey, my stroke, and how I recovered from my stroke. That's on Amazon, and in Canada it's Indigo. And so, like, if anybody wants to order that, they can go to that website or just check it out. Angel on My Wing, and also I have my own Guffaw cigar brand from the Dominican Republic under gaffacigars.com if anybody wants to check that out. They're quality cigars. And then also like for my work, like now I work for Berkshire Hathaway, Fox and Roach for as a referral agent all over the US. And so like I've been doing that for 11 years. And then appearances, like I have one in Hartford on the 29th, and then fly back from that. And then, of course, this coming Thursday, Bernie Perrant's funeral, and he's going to be there in Philadelphia. I'll be there for a couple days, and I have a bunch of things going on in December and February, and so and I have my own golf tournament. It supports the Stroke Center of University of Pennsylvania every day after Mother's Day at Riverwinds in New Jersey, and I usually do a celebrity hockey event in March or April also.
Wow, very busy, Brian. And I want to end. So your website is brianpropp.com. Speaking about cigars, so you said you have a Dominican brand.
Yeah, it's called Guffaw. The Guffaw is my brand, and it's from the Dominican Republic and the distributors in Chicago. So, like, I've been selling them for like 7 years. Boxes of 5, 10, 24. So like, if anybody wants to take a look at it, it might be a good time just to for Thanksgiving or Christmas gift.
Absolutely. So brianprop.com. Everyone listening, go on to that website, check it out. And my last question to you, Brian, I know this may be hard. That 89 playoff hit with Chilios. I mean, that I saw it yesterday on YouTube. I mean, that was such a disgusting hit. It annoyed the hell out of me. And I read somewhere that you mentioned that hit could have killed you. Um, it must annoy you still to this day, that hit that Chilios did to you.
Well, it was a dirty hit. Everybody knows it. He was a dirty player, and he just picked on the scorers. And so, like in my book, like I talk a little bit about that. It's the only thing that I ever have bad to say about anybody because he never apologized anything, and he knew he was going to take me out of the playoffs because at that time I was leading the playoff scoring in Montreal, and so he really bad hit from the head, and so like you saw the hit, and so
Yeah,
like you said, I could have died. But thankfully I only missed one game, which was kind of
that's
uh,
amazing.
out of this world now. Like it might have changed now, but yeah. But other than that, like I'm happy with my life. But my stroke 10 years ago, like I should have died at a little more than that, as my clot went into my heart, into my brain, three different places.
Oh,
I couldn't
wow.
talk or walk for a year and a half, and so it took me a long time to get better. But as you can see, I've done a lot of things. My book talks a lot about the rehab that I have that can help a lot of people that read the book.
I mean, this is unbelievable. You have a lot of resilience, Brian. Listen, I really appreciate a few minutes. And, brianpropp.com is the website. Everyone go onto that website and you can see the merchandise there. Listen, Brian, thank you so much for a few minutes. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Brian.
Take care of yourself.
Will do.
Uh, bye-bye. Brian Propp was on the show. Brianpropp.com is the website. Go check it out. And thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week. Happy collecting to all.